The stars looked the same as they always did, but something was different today. And Jake Morrison knew it deep in his bones as he stared out at the endless black. Through the main window of the USS Meridian, he had been in space for 12 years now and had learned to trust his gut when things felt wrong, even when all the computers said everything was normal. Jake walked across the bridge where his crew worked at their stations, and the soft hum of the ship's engines filled the quiet space. Like a gentle heartbeat, the Meridian was humanity's newest deep space research vessel, and they were currently 3 months out from Earth on a routine survey mission. Near the edge of known space where few humans had ever traveled before, Lisa Rodriguez looked up from her communication station and brushed a strand of dark hair from her face. She had been monitoring all frequencies for the past 6 hours, and her eyes showed the strain of intense concentration that came with long shifts in the void. "Between stars, Commander Morrison," she called out, and her voice carried a note of excitement mixed with confusion. "I'm picking up some really strange energy patterns, about 2 light years from our current position, and they don't match anything in our database." Jake moved to her station and looked at the readouts that showed complex wave patterns dancing across multiple screens. The signatures were unlike anything they had encountered before, and they seemed to pulse with an almost organic rhythm that made no sense for natural space phenomena. "How long have you been tracking these signals?" Jake asked as he studied the data that Lisa had collected over the past several hours. "About 3 hours now, and they keep getting stronger as we move in this direction," Lisa replied, while pointing to a star chart that showed their current course. "The weird thing is that the patterns seem to be responding to our movement like they know we're here." On the other side of the bridge, Ben Taylor looked up from his science station, where he had been analyzing stellar compositions and mapping gravitational fields. Ben was the ship's chief science officer and had spent most of his adult life studying the mysteries of deep space. "Commander, I'm seeing similar readings on my instruments, but from multiple locations," Ben said as he transferred his data to the main screen. "Whatever is generating these energy signatures appears to be spread across a wide area of space, and they all seem connected somehow." Jake felt a chill run down his spine as he looked at the display that showed at least 6 different sources of the mysterious energy patterns scattered across several star systems. The implications were staggering, because no natural phenomenon could coordinate across such vast distance. Meanwhile, far away on Earth, Dr. Amanda Clark sat in the Global Deep Space Monitoring Station and stared at her own screens that showed the same energy signatures that the Meridian crew was detecting. Amanda had been working the night shift at the monitoring station for 5 years and had never seen anything like the readings that were now flooding her instruments. Monitoring station was built high in the mountains of Chile, where the thin atmosphere and lack of light pollution made it ideal for detecting the faintest signals from deep space. Amanda's job was to watch for anything unusual that might indicate the presence of non-human intelligence, but until tonight she had found nothing but empty space and distant stars. "This can't be right," Amanda whispered to herself as she ran diagnostic after diagnostic on her equipment, but the readings remained consistent. The energy patterns were definitely artificial, and they were coming from multiple locations across the galaxy. Amanda picked up her secure phone and dialed the emergency contact number for the Space Defense Council. She knew that reporting potential alien contact would trigger a massive investigation, but she also knew that she had no choice. Given what her instruments were showing back on the Meridian, Jake gathered his senior staff in the briefing room where they could discuss their findings without disturbing the rest of the crew. Lisa brought her communication logs while Ben carried his analysis of the energy patterns, and both officers looked troubled by what they had discovered. "I've been thinking about these readings," Ben said as he activated the holographic display. In the center of the table, the energy signatures are too complex to be natural, but they're also completely passive, with no signs of aggressive intent or attempts at communication. Lisa nodded and added her own observations to the discussion. "Whatever is out there seems content to just watch us, and they're doing a very good job of staying hidden, because we can barely detect them, even with our most sensitive equipment." Jake considered the possibilities, and none of them were particularly comforting. If there were alien observers watching human ships, then they had technology far beyond anything humanity possessed. and they had been operating in secret for an unknown period of time. "We need to be very careful about how we proceed," Jake said. "Finally, if there are advanced beings watching us, then any aggressive action on our part could be interpreted as hostile, and we have no idea what their capabilities might be." The meeting continued for another hour as they discussed various theories and potential responses, but one thing became clear to everyone present. Humanity was no longer alone in the universe, and they were being watched by entities with technology that made human science look primitive. By comparison, as the meridian continued on its course, the energy signatures grew stronger and more distinct, but the watchers remained invisible and silent like ghosts in the void who observed everything, but revealed nothing about themselves or their intentions. 3 months had passed since the meridian first detected the strange energy signatures, and now Captain Ryan Brooks found himself leading humanity's most ambitious colonization mission. To date, as his ship, the USS Pioneer, approached the distant world of Kepler 442b, with 200 civilian colonists aboard, the planet had seemed perfect from Earth, with its stable orbit around a red dwarf star and surface conditions that could support human life without extensive terraforming. The initial probe surveys had shown no signs of intelligent life, and the colonists were eager to begin building humanity's first permanent settlement. Outside the solar system, Sophie Davis checked her engineering reports one more time as she prepared for the final approach to the planet. She had spent the last 6 months planning the colony infrastructure, and every detail had to be perfect because there would be no quick rescue missions. If something went wrong this far from Earth, Captain Brooks called out Helen Parker from the navigation station. "I'm detecting some unusual readings as we approach the planet, and they don't match our survey data from the probe missions." Ryan moved to Helen's station and looked at the displays that showed massive artificial structures in orbit around Kepler 442b. The objects were clearly not natural formations, and they appeared to be constructed from materials that absorbed most sensor scans, making them nearly invisible to long-range detection. "How did we miss these during the initial surveys?" Ryan asked, as he studied the orbital mechanics of the alien structures. "The structures seem to be using some kind of stealth technology that makes them almost impossible to detect unless you're very close," Helen replied while running additional scans. "I'm reading at least 12 large objects in various orbits around the planet, and they all appear to be ancient, but still functional." Dr. Carl Jensen looked up from his medical station, where he had been reviewing the colonists' health records in preparation for planetary landing. Carl had volunteered for the mission because he wanted to help establish humanity's first foothold among the stars, but now he wondered if they were walking into a trap. "Captain, should we abort the mission and return to Earth?" Carl asked as he watched the alien structures on the main display. Ryan considered the question carefully, because he knew that turning back now would mean the end of the colonization program. For years to come, the colonists had given up everything to join this mission, and humanity needed to expand beyond Earth. If the species was going to survive long-term, we continue with the mission, but we stay alert. Ryan decided if these structures wanted to destroy us, they could have done it already, so maybe they're just observing us like the energy signatures the meridian detected as the Pioneer entered orbit around Kepler 442b. The alien structures remained completely passive, with no signs of communication, attempts, or hostile actions. The structures were massive and appeared to be constructed using technology that was centuries, or possibly millennia ahead of human capability. Sophie ran detailed scans of the planet's surface and found something that made her blood run cold. The surface showed evidence of multiple previous settlements that had been built by different species over thousands of years. Each settlement appeared to have been abandoned after a relatively short period, with the inhabitants leaving behind only small marker stones before departing. "Captain, I think you need to see this," Sophie called out as she transferred her surface scans to the main display. "There are ruins down there from at least 6 different civilizations, and they all follow the same pattern." Ryan studied the images of the abandoned settlements and saw that Sophie was right. Each civilization had built a small outpost on the planet's surface and then left after what appeared to be only a few years of occupation. The marker stones they left behind contained symbols that were different for each species, but the placement and size were remarkably similar. It's like they were all following the same protocol, Helen observed. As she compared the different settlement patterns, build a small colony, stay for a few years, leave a marker, and then go somewhere else, Dr. Carl. Jensen had a disturbing thought as he looked at the evidence of previous visitors. What if this planet is some kind of test site, where young species are brought to see how they respond to finding evidence of other civilizations? The idea sent chills through the bridge crew, because it implied that humanity was being guided or manipulated by forces they didn't understand. The colonization mission, that had seemed like humanity's bold step into the future, might actually be part of someone else's experimentation. Made the decision to proceed with the landing, because the colonists needed a new home, and turning back now would doom the entire colonization program. The Pioneers' shuttles began ferrying people and supplies to the planet's surface, where they established their settlement in a valley near one of the ancient markers Cetessus. The days passed. The colonists worked hard to build their new home, and they gradually began to feel safe on the alien world. The orbital structures continued their silent watch, but made no moves to interfere with human activities, and life in the colony began to take on a normal rhythm. Sophie discovered that the marker stones contained detailed information about each species that had visited the planet, including their technology level, social structures, and reasons for leaving. The markers were like a galactic guest book that recorded the passage of various civilizations through this corner of space. The markers suggest that all the previous species were being watched and evaluated during their time here, Sophie reported to Captain Brooks. Each species that visited this planet was at roughly the same level of technological development as humanity is right now. Ryan realized that they were probably being watched and judged by the same entities that had observed all the previous visitors. The silent structures in orbit were not just monitoring human activities, but were part of a larger system that had been studying developing civilizations for thousands of years. Carl Jensen made another disturbing discovery when he analyzed biological samples from the planet. The world had been subtly modified to be perfect for a wide variety of species, with atmospheric conditions and biological systems that could support many different forms of life. This planet isn't naturally habitable for so many different species. Carl explained someone has been engineering this world to serve as a testing ground for civilizations that are just beginning to explore space. As the first month of colonization came to an end, the settlers had built a thriving community and had begun to feel at home on their new world. But they all knew that they were being watched by ancient entities whose motives remained completely unknown and whose technology was far beyond human understanding. Admiral Patricia Stone stood in the command center of Luna Base and watched the incoming data streams that painted a picture of humanity's worst nightmare. A massive swarm of asteroids was heading directly toward Earth, and preliminary calculations showed they would arrive in less than 6 weeks with enough combined mass to end all life on the planet. Asteroid swarm had appeared seemingly from nowhere, beyond the orbit of Pluto, and moved with trajectories that defied natural orbital mechanics. Each rock in the swarm was following a precisely calculated path that would bring them all to Earth at exactly the same time, creating an extinction-level impact event. Admiral, the trajectory analysis is complete, reported Lieutenant Colonel Danny White as he transferred his data to the main display. The asteroids are definitely under artificial control, and whoever is directing them has technology that makes our best propulsion systems look like toys. Patricia studied the tactical display that showed the positions of every human ship and defense platform in the solar system. Humanity had built an impressive space navy over the past 50 years, but nothing in their arsenal was designed to handle a threat of this magnitude. Rebecca Hall looked up from her research station, where she had been analyzing the composition and structure of the incoming asteroids. Rebecca was one of Earth's leading experts on space-based weapons systems, and her face showed the strain of working around the clock to find a solution. Admiral, I've run every scenario I can think of, and we don't have enough firepower to destroy even half of these asteroids, Rebecca reported. Our best option is to try to deflect some of them off course, but that would require coordinating every ship and weapon platform in the system. Patricia knew that Rebecca was being optimistic because Deflecting asteroids of this size would normally require months, or years of careful orbital mechanics, not the few weeks they had available. The enemy had timed their attack perfectly to give humanity just enough warning to see their doom approaching, but not enough time to mount an effective defense. White began coordinating with fleet commanders throughout the solar system as every human vessel prepared for what might be humanity's final battle. The civilian population on Earth had been informed of the threat, and evacuation procedures were underway. But there was nowhere to run from an extinction-level asteroid impact. All ships report ready for Operation Last Stand, Danny announced as the defense fleet took position between Earth and the incoming swarm. We have 37 military vessels and over 200 civilian ships that have volunteered to help with the defense. Patricia felt proud of humanity's response to the crisis because people were working together like never before. Old enemies had put aside their differences and rival nations were sharing technology and resources in the desperate fight for survival. As the days passed, the asteroid swarm continued its relentless approach and human ships began their attempts to deflect the larger rocks off course. The work was dangerous and several ships were lost when asteroids suddenly changed direction, or when debris from destroyed rocks damaged their hulls. Rebecca made a breakthrough when she discovered that the asteroids were not solid rock but were actually hollow shells filled with exotic matter that generated artificial gravity fields. This discovery meant that conventional weapons were useless because the asteroids could absorb enormous amounts of energy without being destroyed. Admiral, the asteroids are some kind of advanced technology disguised to look like natural space debris, Rebecca explained. Whoever built them wanted us to think we were facing a natural disaster when we're actually being attacked by weapons we can't understand. Patricia realized that humanity was being tested by the same entities that had been watching them from the shadows. The asteroid attack was designed to see how humans would respond when facing their own extinction, and whether they would panic or work together for survival. Denny coordinated a desperate plan that involved using every nuclear weapon in humanity's arsenal to create a series of carefully timed explosions that might disrupt the artificial gravity fields controlling the asteroids. The plan required perfect timing and coordination between ships scattered across the entire solar system. As the final week began, human ships moved into position for what everyone knew might be humanity's last stand. The asteroid swarm filled the sky like a dark cloud of death, and the gravity fields generated by the exotic matter were already affecting tidal patterns on Earth. All ships stand by for synchronized detonation, Danny announced over the fleet communication network. Remember, we only get one chance at this, so make every shot count. The nuclear barrage began, with weapons firing from every human ship and platform in coordinated waves, designed to overwhelm the asteroid's defensive systems. The explosions lit up space like a second sun, and for a few moments, it seemed like the plan might actually work. Then something unexpected happened. As massive alien vessels began appearing throughout the solar system, the ships were unlike anything humans had ever seen, and they moved with impossible grace. As they took positions around the asteroid swarm, the alien vessels made no attempt to communicate with the human fleet, but their actions spoke clearly as energy beams lanced out from their weapons and began systematically destroying every asteroid in the swarm. Within minutes, the extinction-level threat was reduced to harmless debris that would burn up harmlessly in Earth's atmosphere. Pasha stared at the alien ships in amazement and realized that humanity had been watched and protected by beings with technology beyond their wildest dreams. The asteroid attack had been a test to see how humans would respond to extinction, and the results had apparently satisfied their mysterious observers. Admiral, we're receiving a transmission from the lead alien vessel, reported the communications officer. It's not in any language we recognize, but the computer is detecting mathematical patterns that might be an attempt at communication. Patricia knew that first contact with an alien civilization would change everything for humanity, but she also realized that the test was not over. The aliens had revealed themselves to save Earth from destruction, but their ultimate intentions remained unknown. Denny watched the alien fleet maintain position around Earth and wondered if humanity had passed or failed their test. The aliens had the power to destroy every human ship in minutes if they chose to, but they seemed content to simply observe and wait for humanity's next moviest news of the alien intervention. Spread throughout the solar system, people celebrated their survival, while wondering what would happen next. Humanity had been saved from extinction, but they now knew they were not alone in the universe, and their mysterious protectors might have their own agenda for the future of human civilization. Dr. Aaron Mitchell had been studying alien languages his entire career, but nothing had prepared him for the complex harmonics that filled his laboratory as the first official communication from the mysterious watchers began. The alien transmission consisted of overlapping sound waves that created patterns more like music than traditional speech. Aaron worked alongside Katie Thompson, who specialized in engineering communication systems, and Dr. Luke Harrison, who understood the physics of exotic energy patterns. Together they had been chosen to lead humanity's first attempt at meaningful contact with the beings who had saved Earth from the asteroid swarm. The harmonic patterns are incredibly sophisticated, Katie observed as she studied the waveform displays. They're using at least 12 different frequency ranges simultaneously, and each layer seems to contain different types of information. Luke nodded as he analyzed the energy signatures that accompanied the alien communication. The transmission is being broadcast using the same type of exotic matter we detected in those fake asteroids, which means they have complete control over gravitational fields and space-time. Aaron had spent the past 3 weeks learning to interpret the basic mathematical concepts embedded in the alien harmonics, and he was beginning to understand that their visitors communicated through concepts rather than words. The aliens thought in terms of universal principles and mathematical relationships that transcended the limitations of spoken language. I think I'm starting to understand their basic greeting protocol, Aaron announced as he played back a section of the transmission. They're identifying themselves as representatives of something they call the Galactic Confederation, and they want us to know they've been watching humanity for a very long time. The revelation that Earth had been under observation for centuries sent shockwaves through the scientific community and government leaders around the world. Humanity had always wondered if they were alone in the universe, but discovering that advanced aliens had been secretly studying human civilization was both exciting and terrifying. Katie established a communication link with the alien vessel that allowed for real-time conversation, and the first exchange was awkward but successful. The aliens expressed concepts that Aaron translated into human language while trying to preserve the original meaning of their harmonic communications. They say they are part of an ancient alliance of species that have moved beyond physical warfare and achieved stable interstellar civilizations, Aaron reported. The Confederation has been watching humanity to see if we would develop beyond our violent tendencies and learn to work together. Luke asked the aliens about their technology and received answers that revolutionized human understanding of physics. The aliens explained that they had learned to manipulate the fundamental forces of the universe and could create matter from pure energy while traveling faster than light by folding space-time. Around their vessels, they've been studying not just humans but hundreds of other developing species across the galaxy. Aaron continued translating. Most species either destroy themselves through warfare or become so focused on technology that they lose their creativity and drive to explore. The aliens revealed that they had been particularly interested in humanity because humans showed unique characteristics that were rare among galactic civilizations. Humans combined an extraordinary drive for survival with rapid adaptation and innovation under pressure, plus an unusual ability to cooperate with strangers during crisis situations. Katie asked why the aliens had remained hidden for so long, and the answer revealed the depth of their patience and wisdom. The Confederation had learned through millennia of experience that premature contact with advanced technology usually corrupted developing species and prevented them from reaching their full potential. They follow a strict policy of non-interference until a species demonstrates they can overcome their destructive impulses naturally. Aaron explained the asteroid test was designed to see if humanity would panic and turn on each other or work together for survival. Dr. Luke Harrison realized that humanity had unknowingly been taking a cosmic examination that lasted for centuries. With every war and peace treaty, every scientific breakthrough, and social advancement being carefully evaluated by their hidden observers. The aliens had been waiting to see if humans would mature as a species. Communication sessions continued for weeks, as the aliens shared carefully selected information about the galaxy and the other civilizations they had encountered. Most species that reached space flight technology eventually contacted the Confederation, but very few were invited to become full members of the Ancient Alliance. They tell us that humans are unusual because we maintain our curiosity and willingness to take risks even as our technology advances, Aaron reported after another long session. Most species become very conservative once they achieve interstellar travel, but humans continue pushing boundaries. Katie learned that the Confederation included dozens of species from across the galaxy, and each member civilization contributed unique perspectives and abilities to the Alliance. The humans were being evaluated not just for their technology, but for what they might add to this ancient partnership. Aliens explained that they had intervened to stop the asteroid swarm because humanity had passed their primary test by choosing cooperation over competition when facing extinction. The fake asteroid attack had been carefully designed to seem hopeless, while actually being within human capabilities to survive if they worked together. They say the real test was not whether we could stop the asteroids, but whether we would unite as a species or fragment into competing groups trying to save only themselves. Aaron translated, apparently, we surprised them by how quickly we put aside our differences. Luke asked about the energy signatures that had been detected by human ships and learned that they were monitoring beacons left by Confederation observers who had been stationed throughout human space for decades. The aliens had been watching every human expedition and colony to gather data on how the species behaved when they thought no one was looking. As the communication sessions continued, it became clear that humanity stood at a crossroads that would determine their future among the stars. The aliens were offering the possibility of joining their confederation, but membership would come with responsibilities and restrictions that not everyone on Earth would accept. Final revelation was perhaps the most important, as the aliens explained that they had been waiting not just for humanity to develop advanced technology, but for humans to develop wisdom to match their capabilities. Many species had achieved faster than light travel and exotic matter manipulation, but very few had learned to use such power responsibly. Iron realized that the next phase of human development would be more challenging than anything the species had faced before, because they would need to prove they could handle the incredible technologies and knowledge that Confederation membership would provide. The massive alien vessel hovering above Geneva looked like a floating city of crystal and metal. As world leaders gathered for the most important meeting in human history, Captain Steve Collins had been chosen as the primary liaison with the alien observers, and he stood nervously in the great assembly hall where humanity would learn their fate. Among the stars, alien representative had taken a form that humans could understand, though Steve knew it was probably just a projection created for their benefit. The being appeared as a tall figure made of shifting light patterns that spoke through the same harmonic communications that Dr. Mitchell had been learning to interpret. Grace Turner led Earth's response delegation as the planet's most experienced diplomat, while Colonel Frank Lopez represented the military interests of various nations. Both had spent weeks preparing for this moment, but nothing could have prepared them for what the aliens were about to reveal. Your species has been under evaluation for 347 of your years. The alien communicated through harmonic patterns that filled the assembly hall. We have observed your wars, your achievements, your failures, and your growth as a civilization. Steve translated the aliens' words for the assembled leaders, and he could see the impact of learning that humanity had been watched for over 3 centuries. Every major event in human history had been observed and analyzed by beings with technology that seemed almost magical. Alien projection shifted colors as it continued, explaining humanity's evaluation results. You are unique among the species we have encountered because you maintain your drive for exploration and innovation, even as your technology advances and your society becomes more complex. Dr. Turner asked about the specific criteria the aliens used to evaluate developing civilizations, and the answer revealed the depth of their analysis. The Confederation looked for species that could balance technological advancement with social responsibility while maintaining the curiosity and adaptability needed for interstellar exploration. Most species follow one of two paths after achieving space flight. The alien explained they either become aggressive and seek to conquer other worlds, or they become so focused on perfecting their technology that they lose interest in exploration and growth. Colonel Lopez wanted to know why humanity was different, and the aliens' answer surprised everyone present. Humans were unusual because they had maintained their competitive spirit and willingness to take risks while also developing strong cooperative instincts that allowed them to work together during crisis situations. The alien revealed that humanity's response to the asteroid threat had been the final test in their evaluation. The Confederation had been particularly interested in seeing whether humans would unite as a species or fragment into competing groups, each trying to save only their own people. You surprised us with how quickly you put aside your tribal differences when facing extinction. The alien admitted most species require much longer to overcome their instinct to compete with members of their own kind. Steve felt pride in humanity's achievement, but he also sensed that bigger revelations were coming. The alien projection grew brighter as it began explaining the choice that humanity now faced and the implications of each possible path forward. We offer your species two options. For your future development, the alien announced, you may continue advancing on your own until you naturally mature into a stable interstellar civilization, or you may accept provisional membership in our Confederation with access to advanced knowledge and technology. Dr. Turner immediately asked about the conditions attached to Confederation membership because she knew that such an offer would come with significant restrictions and responsibilities. The alien's answer confirmed her suspicions and revealed the serious nature of the choice. Humanity faced provisional members receive access to technologies that could advance your civilization by thousands of years, but you would be closely monitored to ensure you use such power responsibly. The alien explained, if you prove unable to handle advanced technology wisely, we would be forced to isolate your species permanently. The threat of permanent isolation sent chills through the assembly because it meant humanity would be prevented from ever reaching the stars. If they failed to meet the Confederation's standards, Earth would be surrounded by an invisible barrier that would keep humans confined to their solar system forever. Colonel Lopez asked about the military implications of joining the Confederation and learned that member species were expected to resolve conflicts through negotiation rather than warfare. Any species that used advanced technology for aggressive purposes would be immediately expelled and isolated. The choice must be made by your entire species, not just your leaders. The alien continued, we have learned that lasting change requires the support of the entire population, and we will not accept membership from a species that remains internally divided. Steve realized that the aliens were asking humanity to fundamentally change how they approached conflict and competition. The competitive instincts that had driven human evolution and technological development would need to be channeled into peaceful pursuits rather than warfare. The alien shared examples of other species that had faced similar choices, and the results were sobering. Several civilizations had accepted Confederation membership only to be expelled and isolated. When they proved unable to control their aggressive tendencies, one species used our technology to build weapons that could destroy entire star systems. The alien revealed another became so dependent on our knowledge that they stopped thinking for themselves and lost their ability to innovate. Dr. Turner asked how long humanity had to make their decision and learned that the Confederation would wait for up to 10 of Earth's years while observing how human society adapted to the knowledge that they were not alone in the universe. The alien explained that the waiting period was itself another test because the Confederation wanted to see how humanity would handle the stress of knowing that their future among the stars depended on their ability to overcome their destructive instincts. Some species fragment under the pressure of this knowledge and destroy themselves through civil wars fought over whether to accept our offer. The alien warned others use the time to mature and grow stronger as a unified civilization. Steve translated the final part of the alien's message, which contained both hope and warning for humanity's future. The Confederation believed that Humans had the potential to become valuable members of their alliance, but only if they could prove they had truly evolved beyond their primitive competitive instincts. As the meeting concluded, world leaders returned to their nations to begin the most important debate in human history. The choice between continuing alone or joining an ancient galactic alliance would determine whether humanity reached the stars or remained forever trapped in their solar system. The alien vessel remained in orbit above Earth as a constant reminder that humanity was being watched and judged by beings whose technology could either elevate human civilization to unimaginable heights or confine them to eternal isolation among the stars they had always dreamed of reaching. 6 months after first contact, Ambassador Claire Rodriguez stood in the newly constructed Confederation embassy on the Moon and watched as the first joint human-alien research team prepared for departure to a distant star system. The decision to accept provisional membership had not been easy and had required unprecedented cooperation between every nation on Earth. Norman Blake served as Earth's chief science advisor and had spent the past months working with alien scientists to understand technologies that seemed impossible according to human physics. The learning process had been challenging because the aliens thought about science in completely different ways than humans did. The integration process is proceeding faster than anyone expected, Claire reported to the Earth Council during her weekly briefing. Our scientists are not only mastering Confederation technology, but they're already suggesting improvements that our new partners hadn't considered. The aliens had been amazed by humanity's rapid adaptation to advanced concepts and their ability to find creative solutions to problems that had puzzled Confederation scientists for centuries. Human innovation combined with alien knowledge was producing breakthroughs that neither species could have achieved. Alana Captain Maya Johnson commanded the USS Horizon, which was humanity's first vessel built using Confederation technology, and she was preparing to lead a joint exploration mission to investigate anomalies in a nearby galaxy. The ship represented everything humanity had dreamed of, with faster-than-light travel and sensors that could analyze entire star systems in minutes. Captain, the Confederation observers report. They are ready for departure, announced her first officer. As the mixed crew of humans and aliens took their positions throughout the ship, Maya felt proud to command the first truly interstellar human vessel, but she also understood the responsibility that came with such advanced technology. Every decision her crew made would be evaluated by Confederation monitors, who were determining whether humanity deserved permanent membership. Aliens had been particularly impressed by human adaptability and creativity, which were traits that had become rare among the ancient civilizations of the Confederation. Most older species had become very set in their ways and rarely developed new approaches to old problems. Peter Grant worked at the Confederation monitoring station in Earth orbit, where he analyzed data from human colonies and expeditions throughout local space. His job was to document humanity's progress and report any signs that the species might be reverting to their old aggressive patterns. The colony reports continue to show remarkable cooperation between human settlements and visiting alien observers. Peter noted in his latest assessment, even when resources are limited, the colonists are sharing rather than competing. The transformation of human society had been dramatic, as people worked together like never before to prove they deserved their place among the stars. Old rivalries between nations had been set aside as everyone focused on the common goal of earning permanent Confederation membership. Claire received regular reports from human settlements throughout the galaxy, and the news was consistently positive. Human colonists were adapting to alien worlds with remarkable success, while maintaining the cooperative spirit that had impressed their Confederation observers. Thalians had initially been concerned that humans might use advanced technology to gain advantages over each other, but those fears had proven unfounded. Instead of competing with other humans, the colonists were working together to contribute to Confederation projects and scientific research. Blake made another breakthrough when he discovered that human neural patterns were uniquely suited for interfacing with Confederation computer systems. This discovery led to advances in artificial intelligence that revolutionized how information was processed and stored throughout the galaxy. Human brains seemed to bridge the gap between logical analysis and creative intuition in ways that purely logical minds cannot match. Blake explained to a gathering of Confederation scientists, we can solve problems by making intuitive leaps that your computers cannot calculate. Maya's exploration mission discovered several new forms of exotic matter that could be used to improve faster-than-light travel systems. The human crew's willingness to take calculated risks had led them to investigate phenomena that more cautious alien scientists had avoided. Successive human integration into Confederation society had surprised even the most optimistic alien observers. Most new species required decades or centuries to adapt to advanced technology, but humans were contributing meaningful innovations. Within their first year of membership, Captain Johnson's ship returned from its mission with data that revolutionized Confederation understanding of galaxy formation and evolution. The human crew had approached familiar problems from completely new angles and discovered patterns that had been overlooked for millennia. The human contribution to our knowledge has been remarkable, admitted the alien representative during a ceremony celebrating humanity's achievements. Your species brings perspectives that we had not encountered in our long history of galactic exploration. Dr. Grant compiled his final assessment of humanity's probationary period, and the results exceeded every expectation. Human colonies were thriving without conflict. Human scientists were making breakthrough discoveries, and human explorers were pushing the boundaries of known space. Claire received the official notification that humanity had been accepted as permanent members of the Confederation, with full access to all technologies and knowledge that the ancient alliance had accumulated over millions of years. The news triggered celebrations on Earth and human colonies throughout the galaxy. The transformation from watched species to galactic partners had taken less than a year, but the impact would last forever. Humanity had proven that a young, aggressive species could evolve beyond their primitive instincts and contribute meaningfully to an ancient civilization. Mai commanded the first human ship assigned to patrol the galactic frontier, where new species were discovered and evaluated for potential Confederation membership. Her crew included both humans and aliens working together to extend the same opportunity. Two other developing civilizations that humanity had received. The Watchers, who had observed humanity in silence for centuries, were no longer hidden but had become partners and teachers, helping to guide human expansion into the galaxy. Their silence had been broken not by force or demand, but by humanity proving they could be trusted with the responsibilities of galactic citizenship. Peter Grant smiled as he watched the latest reports from human expeditions that were discovering new worlds and making contact with previously unknown species. The former subjects of observation had become observers themselves, helping to evaluate and guide other developing civilizations. Earth had become a hub of interspecies cooperation as humans and aliens worked together on projects that spanned multiple galaxies. The competitive drive that had once threatened to destroy humanity had been channeled into peaceful exploration and scientific advancement. The final irony was not lost on any of the participants, as humans who had been watched in secret for centuries now helped watch and guide other species toward their own moment of choice between isolation and cooperation among the ancient communities that filled the galaxy with wonder.